Welcome everyone to Old Roommates. Today on the show, we revisit 1989's Look Who's Talking. So, get out of your selfish phase and get ready. The revisit is about to begin.
Welcome everyone to Old Roommates, the only podcast that revisits pop culture through a middle-aged lens. This is Christina.
And this is Brian.
And we are revisiting Look Who's Talking from 1989, starring John Travolta and Kirstie Alley, Bruce Willis as the voice of Mikey, Olympia Dukakis, I forgot was in this movie. And we're going to begin this episode as we always do. And I'm going to ask you, Brian, what is your history with Look Who's Talking?
Well, I think if my math is right, would this be almost 35 years this year?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So this came out October 13th, 1989. Written and directed by Amy Heckerling.
Right, I forgot about that
did
too.
Clueless. I completely forgot. So I saw this in a movie theater.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was fine. Its success baffled me. I didn't think it was like hilariously funny. I thought it was cute.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was cute. I don't think I ever saw it again. I didn't see the sequels.
Right.
And that's kind of that, just a cute movie.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's one of those things where it's like you see a movie and then it does incredibly well at the box office and you're like, was I missing something?
Right, yeah.
But I do think there's just something to like being like something like a sweet movie. It's a cute movie. How old was I then? 17. So
Right.
It's like, that
Probably
was fine.
not
It was
your
fine. Like a
cup of tea at that
rom-com,
point.
goofy, whatever. It didn't stay with me, didn't affect me. I was just surprised it was such a huge hit. I thought it was fine. How about you?
I believe I also saw this in the movie.
Oh.
And I actually really liked this movie.
Oh, nice.
I thought it was funny. Again, yeah, very cute.
Yeah.
Very cute for sure. But there were certainly moments where I laughed.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, that's funny. They were a little bit risky in a couple of the jokes.
Mm-hmm.
A little, just kind of funny. And I think it was just something that we hadn't really seen before. And I think Bruce Willis was really funny as the voice.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the voice was probably added later,
Mm-hmm.
right? Looking at some of these scenes, you can sort of see where he's looking at it and saying,
we could throw something in there.
I might grab him. What's this funny thing on your forehead? Whatever it is.
Yeah.
But I thought it was funny. I liked it. I definitely enjoyed it. I thought John Travolta was adorable. I thought Kirstie Alley was great in it. I really liked Kirstie Alley in it. And and I probably saw it maybe a couple times after that.
Okay.
But I mean, it was one of the, I never went out and rented it or anything. It wasn't like I ever told anybody, oh, you really need to see Look Who's Talking. But I could understand the success. I thought it was funny enough and an easy movie to watch.
Yeah.
I think I saw the sequel with Roseanne Barr as the child, as the sister. I never saw the other one with the dogs.
The dogs.
That was a little bit too much. So when did you rewatch this movie?
Probably like a week and a half ago now.
Mm-hmm. So you've had time to digest?
Yeah, I really have. My immediate thought was like, oh my God, Amy Heckerling. Because if you think about it, like I saw this movie before Clueless, as the world did. But since I never went back to it, and I saw Amy Heckerling, I was like, as we all know,
Everybody
or if you
knows.
listened to the Clueless episode, I thought Clueless was one of the best rewatches I've had. I love Clueless. It's one of my favorite movies of all time, truly. And so I was like, oh, maybe through my middle-aged lens, I'm going to appreciate this movie so much more. So it was funny because when I put the DVD in, which, by the way, God bless, this DVD, I don't think it was I think it was watched 3 times according to the library card inside. Yeah. It was in mint condition. And yes, it was a movie I never think of. So it was like, my expectations were pretty low.
Sure.
And because I remembered that it was the baby's thoughts. So this is not a talking baby with the mouth moves.
Right.
This is just the baby.
Goodness,
Thank God. This is just the baby's thoughts. So I'm like, okay, fine. I don't have to worry about special effects with the baby, talking baby. So great. And I put it on. And I was kind of almost instantly charmed by Kirstie Alley.
She's so
I
good.
loved her in Cheers, and she just is like, this is such a weird thing to say, but she's such a natural.
Mm-hmm.
She feels like a real person. Like,
yes.
And I don't mean, and it's like, well, of course, she's an actress, but it's like, but I feel like it doesn't feel, I don't know, because she has to do, let me put it this way. She has to do very movie things, very movie-ish things. She has to make a lot of dumb decisions.
Mm-hmm.
But there's something about her naturalness that you go along with it, even when she's making some real bad decisions and choices. But you're like, you know what, I kind of get this woman. Like, she feels real to me. So for such a light, and this is kind of a theme through my notes, is that for this, such a lightweight movie, I feel like the actors, from George Segal to Olympia Dukakis, I feel like everyone's better than they need to be. Mm-hmm. This is a baby movie. It's a rom-com baby movie. Everyone, I feel like, is really strong in this.
Sure.
Acting-wise, yeah. But that was my immediate thought, and it just kind of, the consistency of that felt like was nice to see going in. So how about you?
Thank you for finally asking.
I had to land that plane. I think
our time is up. Just kidding. So I agree with you. I think Kirstie Alley, from the minute you see her, you are with her. She's just seems like someone you want to be friends with. She seems very real. She's so funny in this too, even without her trying to be, because she's so real. Like, the expressions on her faces.
That's a note I have as well.
She's so... I have a note in here that's somewhere in there that says she's so good at being emotional.
Yeah.
She can make herself cry. She can... It's just...
She's really good at these, like, in the moment.
These expressions. Yeah. And you know exactly how she's feeling. Yeah. You really empathize with her.
Listen, we watched...
just based on those expressions.
Yes. And I like that we're talking about her, because I don't, like, listen, I know in her real life she was a very different kind of person, and that's, that is what it is, and may she rest in peace. I think but I think, like, we watch so many romantic comedies for this podcast, and I think she's probably one of the stronger performances.
I think so,
like,
too.
We've seen a lot of Meg Ryan, we've seen a lot of Julia Roberts, we've seen a lot of others, and it's like, I think Kirstie Alley was, like, almost weirdly good. Like, you kind of don't think about her as a film actress in rom-com, but I think she's really strong in this.
She's very strong in this. Very relatable, very funny.
She has that thing where she's on the date, I'm jumping, but it's like with the CPA, and he it's too long to get into, but he motions for her to pay, and he slides the bill. Her reactions, and you mentioned her facial expressions, they are so funny, but they don't feel telegraphed. I don't feel like she's playing for the cheap seats. There's nothing broad about this.
No,
like,
she's
really
reaction.
In the moment, and really normal reactions. And you said, like, it's like something you would be friends with. Like, she feels almost very contemporary. Like, but it's a really good performance.
And she, like, and not to keep harping on it, but it's not a theatrical. I think that's what you're talking about.
She's not.
It's not a theatrical reaction.
It's not a slap.
It's a reaction that you would give me. If Carl slid the bill your way, you would give me this look like, what the fuck? She
keeps it real. Even the scenes right in the beginning, I was laughing a lot, because she's good at this, like, we've seen this 1.5 million times, where it's like she's trying to convince herself that this affair is going to work out. And I wrote, she's good at convincing herself this is all going to work out as if she's never seen a movie before. Right? She's really, like, convincing herself. She's trying to convince her coworker, who is Miss Weiss from Clueless. It's the same.
Same actress.
And she goes, so at one point they're like, oh God, he's like, oh my gosh, what is his name? What is George Segal's name in this? Oh God. Albert. She's like, Albert left her. And the coworker says, oh, Albert left his wife? She's like, no, he left his shrink.
Right, like, because she was saying that the shrink was really
poisoning him.
Yeah. Telling him that he needs to end this affair. And then, that they're bad for each other or whatever.
Yeah,
and
it was
she's like, sure,
so
she left.
funny.
So he left her.
And she was so excited. She's like, he left his shrink. It's just so good and feels very real and yet funny.
Yes.
Yeah.
I loved the music. I thought the music was really well done throughout this movie. It just felt fun.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It was fun. Even the beginning part when they're showing, the egg dropping down.
Yeah.
I forgot about that part. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I remember now. And then the sperm swimming. And I thought that was funny. But the music was really, really fun. It kind of added to all of it. All of the fun.
It feels almost very summer blockbustery.
Yes.
It was released in October, like I said, of '89. But
yes.
with the Beach Boys music and all that, I mean, I will say, if we're going to dive into that part, I feel like that is the weakest stuff for me, is the kids' thoughts. I don't think
the kids' thoughts.
The kids' thoughts.
Okay.
I mean, the sperm stuff and the baby growing, I thought that was fine. I thought it was actually, it didn't irk me as much, even when she's getting drugged, when she's in labor, and the kid's like, ooh, my hand,
right.
And then all that.
Well, the part that made me laugh about that was hey, what's that light down there? That made me giggle.
Yeah, there's a couple things. And we know Joan Rivers does the voice at the very end.
Yes.
As Julie, the new baby. And so it's uncredited. And I also believe, if my research is right, that Joan Rivers, she had a hard time getting work at this point, in her career. And so she, from what I understand, wrote a lot of this baby dialogue.
Oh.
Uncredited, because they were afraid that if her name was on the film, it may have kept people away.
Sure.
So let's see. So I have LOL, the dream sequence. There's a few dream sequences here. We talked about this with A Christmas Story. You weren't crazy with the Christmas Story dream sequences.
Right.
I was, and I liked some of these. This is Molly.
I liked these, yeah.
So Albert, the dream sequence is Albert finally leaving his wife. And you hear Kirstie Alley's voice go, I knew this day would come. And it cuts to her, and she's 95 years old. She's in all these prosthetics. It is so funny. I don't know. Kirstie won me over in this.
She was great in this.
Really funny.
She was great in this. I loved Olympia Dukakis in this. Yeah. I even liked John Travolta in this.
Yeah.
I thought he was lovable and charming, and I felt like they had a lot of chemistry together.
So I'm going to give you some trivia right now.
Oh boy, okay.
In Kirstie's memoir, she said during the filming of this film, she fell in love with John Travolta, but she never acted on it because she was married.
Wow.
I'm assuming he was married then too. Was he married to Kelly Preston then? I don't know.
How long has he been married?
I don't know. But she said she was truly in love with him. Yeah.
There's definitely a lot of chemistry there. I loved the little parts. So what I really loved is it takes a while for them to get together as a couple. Mm-hmm. And I never felt like they were trying to push them together either. I felt like they did a nice job of just being friends, or even just a little bit more than acquaintances, but just getting to know each other as the babysitter and, whatever, the mother of the child. I felt like that relationship was not pushed and shoved in your face. You kind of know it's a romantic comedy. You know they're going to end up eventually together. Mm-hmm. But you never see those, longing looks between the two of them for a while.
Yeah.
And they just are getting to know each other. And they're kind of fun together. They, make jokes together. And they laugh together. And I loved that. I thought that those are some of the stronger scenes with them.
Yeah.
Is they're just enjoying each other's company.
Yeah. I think, too, it's it delves into the fact that, she, believes a baby, needs a father. She feels that she's screwed up her life so much that she's I'm going, there's a funny line, I'm going to misquote it, but she's I'm going to find you a father. I don't want some handsome guy that I'm going to fall in love with. I don't want some handsome guy to fall in love with. I'm going to find you a daddy.
Right.
Yeah. And I think that's very, I think that was really nice. Like,
Yeah.
it was like kind of interesting. It was an interesting take
Mm-hmm.
because we've seen her make some really bad calls up to
Right.
this point, and this
Well,
is now her mission.
and
And so, yeah.
Yes. I'm sorry. You can finish.
Oh no!
your
So
thought.
really quick. So to your point, she's not going to waste her time with this her words, goofball cab driver who is a horrible driver, and kind of like a doofus. Like, he's goofy.
Right. He's not very serious about things.
No, and she wants someone who's serious, who's going to be a good dad, who's responsible. He has not proven any of these things to her.
Right.
Which is weird, though, that she thinks he'd make a great babysitter.
Well, yeah.
I mean, I think it's just a limitation of, like, who she can really get to watch her baby.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. I also appreciated the fact that she didn't seem bitter or angry.
No.
Or mad. She was just, she had made these mistakes, and it was, I think another movie would have made her feel like, angry at all men. Like,
Yeah. She does have the line, she's like, the only people that say things like that are men because they're stupid.
Right. But it wasn't like that was just something she probably would have said 2 years ago.
Yeah, she was also in labor. I mean, to her defense, I guess.
Yes. But yes, I liked just that overall character of just being just a nice, I don't know, just a like, she wasn't bitter.
Yeah.
And you didn't see any of that, like, I'm mad at you because I made these mistakes. Like, it was just...
Oh, no, yes,
you know what
that's
I mean?
a good note.
It
Yeah, I
was
agree
just
with
nice.
that.
It was
Yeah,
just
she wasn't
nice.
hating all men. She wasn't like, yeah. And in
She
fact...
even went out there. She even tried to
She
date.
did. And when the toupee comes ripping off, and she's like, I think you look better without it. Like, she was really trying to fulfill this goal of, like, meeting a good dad.
Right.
Although, had she seen that scene with him watching TV with the baby and he was so mean.
I have a note about that.
That was weird to me.
It was really weird. I don't know. I'm like...
I know, we're jumping all over.
I said, the date with the accountant... Who changes the channel? Like, when you're showing up at a date and this little kid is watching... And you're just gonna go in, and then he's like yelling at the kid. I guess it was a way for us to not like him, I suppose, or a way for John Travolta's character James to not like him, maybe.
Yeah.
But because then it was more about him. It wasn't. I didn't get the impression that James was upset that Molly was dating.
Mm-hmm.
I got the impression that he was mad at him because of how he was treating the kid.
I don't know. I wasn't sure.
Because he had a date set up.
Right. I wasn't even sure if James was in that scene in the very beginning when the guy got there. I don't think he was there when the guy got there,
He was
right?
in the house because he walks into the room.
But I thought, didn't Kirstie...
He jumps at Kirstie when she's getting ready. And
When
he was all
Molly...
dressed up.
Right, because
Right.
Molly left the baby alone with that guy.
That guy, that's right.
That
that's
was
right.
a weird
and that's another
choice,
thing
too. I know.
Yeah.
She was very trusting.
Which is weird because the first time she leaves him alone with James, she falls asleep.
And
James
kidnaps
takes this child. Okay, yeah. So we're at the beginning of the... I know. We're all over the place with this movie.
But also I wrote, is kidnapping ever a good idea? Like, James, like, she's sleeping and I understand. He's like, oh, let's let mommy sleep.
Yeah.
But maybe leave a note.
Yeah, I said, so stupid taking the baby, leave a note. And I said, in no car seat? And I looked it up, and car seats became mandatory in the United States in 1985.
There you go.
So there you go.
Thank you
Let me
for
go
doing
back
your due
a little
diligence
bit.
on
I know.
that.
It was just because as a mom, I was like, what? I even I actually researched the Demerol situation too. When she was in labor, and she's like, I need drugs.
She's like, give me the drugs. Yeah.
Funny. And they gave her Demerol, and I'm like, did they give Demerol? And like, is that safe? I guess it is safe.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, I don't really see it. Let me look at some of my notes here.
Yeah.
I did like. So you didn't really love the baby's thoughts.
Not really. I don't think they really added much. I mean, you can't.
But
like,
that was the whole point of the movie. Look who's talking. That was the whole point of the movie.
That it doesn't matter?
No, that the baby's thoughts are that's the name of it is Look Who's Talking.
Would it have changed the movie much without the baby talking?
It would have just been a regular typical rom-com movie. It wouldn't have been anything different to it.
All right. Would it have been as strong?
I don't know.
I don't know.
They would have had to have been something else.
Yeah, another
They
layer.
would have had to it wouldn't have made it any different.
Yeah.
I don't think. Because it was cute. I did like some of the things that the baby was thinking and saying.
Yeah.
I thought the nursery scene was really funny. When they're all laying there and she's like, "Where's my sucky things? Someone stole my sucky things." Or she's like, "Where are my hands?"
Yeah.
Like,
when you saw this movie, so you're probably like in your early 20s, maybe 21, 22. So were you like, was this a like pro baby movie, or were you like, oh my God, at 22 or 21, what were you thinking?
I thought it was funny. I thought it was a pretty...
No, but for you personally, do you think this is like
a movie that
babies babies are amazing, or is this
I
like
always had babies around me, like I always had like nieces and nephews and things like that, so I never was really against babies per se.
Because this also came out like right around the time, so Baby Boom was what, 87. 3 Men and a Baby was, there was like 3 years there, a lot of the baby movies, and so I feel like, to your point, maybe they had to have this baby with the thoughts thing to make it different than all these other single mom or single dad baby people, you know?
Yeah, I think it made it funny. I think it added a funny aspect to this rom-com.
Yeah.
Because I don't know
if it would have been as strong without it,
or
as unique as without it.
Like what would make it funny?
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I mean, I still think it's funny.
What parts of it are funny?
Pretty much a lot of what Kirstie Alley does. The first 10 minutes of this podcast, we were saying how amazing she is.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
But it's, I don't know.
I guess that's the question. For me, it's like, did it need it? Did it? I'm not convinced it did. That's all. Also, I think to say really quick, I'm sorry. Okay. But to watch this on TV is different. Like, it feels very made for TV for me. Yes. And so maybe that's why I was like, this baby's thoughts is like not a big deal to like. Mm-hmm. Maybe the uniqueness of seeing it on a big screen, it adds more, who knows. Yeah. But this time around, I was like watching it on a TV screen. I'm like, I don't know if I need this, but whatever.
Yeah, there were a few things I thought was funny. I thought it was interesting when she's looking at the kids in the nursery. Did you notice she only had one earring on?
No.
Yeah, she's looking at the kids and she's like, yeah, look at those dads being all goofy. Well, basically saying, it's just going to be me and you.
Yeah, and that's when she says.
And she only has one earring on, a dangly earring. I thought that was an interesting choice. I think it was obviously intentional. I loved when she's home and she's tired and there's a knock at the door and she opens the door and she peeks out and she sees that it's James and she immediately, like, her gut reaction, just shuts the door and she's like, oh no, and then she immediately opens it again. She's like, sorry. But her first thing was like, oh no. Loved that. So funny.
You mentioned Olympia Dukakis. Her running gag is Louis, her husband.
Yes.
And she's saying, Louis, you hear this? And and that keeps happening. Like later on she's like, or she'll say something like, look at your father. Or like, look at your daddy. Look at daddy. Like, she compares everything to her amazing relationship with with Louis.
Yeah, so funny. So one of the things I wrote down that was really funny was when she's looking at the baby, Olympia, for the first time. She's like, I'm your grandmama. And he just goes, oh yeah, she's gone.
Lost it. Yeah, she's gone, yeah.
So like things like that were really
that was
cute to me.
Yeah. A shocking thing, they said the F word at least twice in this movie.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't even notice.
James swears in the car. He says F. And then she says, fuck my breathing. And then I think someone says the F word later on. And I'm like, is this not is this PG-13?
It's PG.
It's PG. And I will say...
Prior to PG-13 ratings? No, 89.
No, 89. PG-13 happened in 87, 88. But
Gremlins,
the thing is... No, Gremlins was PG.
Right, I know. It was
because that triggered because of that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was because of...
And because of Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. But but I was just surprised the number of F-bombs. And the rule is, as we know... We learned this through Romeo and Michelle's high school reunion, that if you say the word F meaning sex, that gets you a PG-13, or an R. If you say it as just an expletive out of frustration, then it can be PG, but I think I thought you only got one.
You get 2.
You get 2?
Yes, and I learned this. I don't know about 1989. I learned this through Hamilton. Because they say F 3 times in Hamilton, and when they moved it to TV, they wanted a PG-13 rating, and so they had to get rid of one of the Fs. They had to dub it out.
Wow.
Yeah. So interesting, very interesting.
I liked when James says to her, "Oh, you're getting your figure back." No, you got your figure back, and
that
she's
whole
like,
thing is so funny with the engorged boobs, and she tries to do a sexy pose. She's like, "Oh."
Oh wait, does he say it or she say it? She's like,
she said,
"You got." She's like, "Oh, I have Dolly Parton's figure back."
Yeah,
that's very funny.
Yes. I did think it was again, their relationship between them is the strongest part for me. I thought it was really cute. Before they got together, and they really don't get together until the very last 5 minutes anyway.
Yeah.
But she says, he's like, "Oh, I have class on Saturday or something like that," and she goes, "What do you teach taxi drivers, Ed?" And she giggles. But it's just a little razz. It's not mean.
Exactly. And I was so happy when after he brings him to see his grandfather or dad.
Abe
is it dad or granddad?
His grandfather.
Abe Vigoda. And then he brings him home and brings the baby home, and she punches him, starts hitting him with the broom. And it was the perfect balance of comedy and anger.
Yes.
And she's so good in that scene because I'm so glad she is justifiably beating, she's punching him.
She was pissed.
And I was really glad about that.
Well, and I was glad that she immediately was looking for Mikey and immediately called the police.
Yeah. She didn't
a lot of these things were real. Again, a very real character.
Yeah. One of my least favorite scenes, and again, because I just feel like everyone is too smart for this. They did a Three's Company with a Splinter.
Oh, stupid.
God,
not
so
necessary.
Dumb. Because and
it didn't even sound like sex.
Exactly.
It didn't even sound like getting it. You're talking about getting it out.
Yeah, right.
I've never had one in me so big. No, come on.
And Olympia Dukakis is at this point she's won an Oscar. She's on the other side and she's cringing. It's first of all, they'd have to be having sex against the door for her to even hear this. But it's it didn't sound like sex noises. It just was. I'm like, I bet.
It could have been written differently. They could have been more oh, it hurts. And then he could have been well, it's really big. It's oh, stop. It hurt. Although maybe
Christina,
that would have been more of a
funnier.
rapey thing.
Yeah, that was. Oh God.
Then you got to be careful with that too.
But
that would have been better with less words.
Oh my God, did she even need a splinter? It's I don't know.
Right.
I expected more.
Definitely.
Yeah. She calls him a goofball, and I'm like, that is valid. He is a goofball because even when he's driving the cab, I'm like, he is so dorky.
Oh, he's
very
so dorky, but so charming at the same time. Very charming. He can totally. The thing is, he's just goes with the flow.
Yeah.
And I think that she's so uptight. She's an accountant, for goodness sake. But I thought this joke was funny. The baby said this to his friend. How many babies does it take to change a light bulb? What's a light bulb?
I'll start, yeah. I did think it was cute when they were pushing the stroller down the street.
And they're seeing the babies.
It's right back at you, toots, or whatever.
So
yeah, super cute.
And the hair,
yes.
Did you get a haircut? Oh, I don't know. She cut off all my curls. Those things made me chuckle. They
Those
really
were cute.
did make me chuckle.
Those were cute. John Travolta flinging the kid around during his dance number. Oh my God. Yeah. That kind of worried me. Yeah. He was really flinging the kid. I don't know.
But I will say, I thought the kid was great.
Yeah.
For a 1 year, well, I think he was older than 1. He was supposed to be 1. He was probably more 2.5, I would say. But he was cute, and he had a lot of expressions for a little kid.
You could tell he loved John Travolta too.
Yes.
That helped a lot.
Well, who wouldn't at that age, right? I don't know about now, but
I did love how they were playing Walking on Sunshine. I think some of the musical choices were really sweet in this.
Yes, that's what I mean. The musical choices.
Oh, yeah, you said that earlier, yeah. And then I feel bad about this.
Uh-oh.
You're going to yell at me.
Can't wait.
I did write down, I'm like, how's work going, Molly? She seemed to have forgotten all about her career.
Yeah.
But then she says maternity leave, and I was like, whoops, I forgot about maternity leave. Yeah. But also, but I think the kid looked too old.
Well,
because how much maternity
when
leave
they did the time jump, yeah. I mean, maternity leave is usually around 3 months.
Yeah.
So, but maybe she had an extension, or maybe, you never know what they worked out. But for the first, when the baby was, before it changed to a different actor, baby, that would make sense to be maternity leave. Once he was a little older, when he was like, they called him 1 again.
Yeah.
That would be too old, I think, for maternity leave. And no one's gonna, I don't think, hold your job for a year.
Yeah, right.
Unless she did, I mean, maybe she did. Well,
during the montage.
Hold on, though. There was a point, and maybe this is what you're gonna say. She was doing the books at her house, so maybe that was part of an arrangement where she would just work from home a little bit. Yeah,
I think it's because she was such a workaholic before, and it kind of went away. But then she said maternity leave. I'm like, oh, that's true.
Yeah.
11. Oh, and this is interesting because you don't usually hear people talk about their salaries in rom-coms, really.
Right.
He's like, well, I only make $1,100 as a flight instructor, and she's like, a week. He's like, a month, and she's like, oh.
She's like, oh, why bother?
Well, and I also think because she was like, oh, because I think she was like thinking like, could he be dad material for Mikey?
Right, and that's probably why they put it in there.
Yep.
Is my guess.
I
did like, what was it? When they had a fight. Was that... Oh, no. You know what I liked was when he took her up on the plane, the airplane, and she's so nervous.
Yes.
And that was, again, really, really cute.
And I'm telling you, when it started, I'm like, what a waste of time right now. Like, there's no baby in this. What happened? I'm like, there's no baby in this. Like, what are we watching right now? Is this just a straight, like meet cute rom-com? Like, they don't even like each other. Like, what are we just doing here?
Right.
But what I liked is that we actually learned about James.
Yes.
Like, it's, again, I think it's to the credit to the writing, where, like, it's like, he is, look at what he does. He, like, goes for free lunches, free phone calls. He talks about all these tricks about how to save money.
And then they have that funny dream sequence for that too. But then what is so funny, and so there you have, like 2 well-written rom-com characters. And what is so funny, I did laugh out loud at this. And she's like, oh my God. And it's just because of my note before, like, she's like, haven't you ever seen Sweet Dreams? Buddy Holly's story? La Bamba? And he goes, they're rock stars. You're not. I thought that was really
I love
funny. That whole scene.
Yeah. Because that is stuff like, she's like, it's such a small plane. And we talk about this a lot where it's like, don't these people watch movies? Like, where are the warning? Like, they're seeing all these things they've seen in movies before, and she calls it all out. Well, and he's like, well, the difference is you're not famous. What was your comment
about her earlier?
Yeah, I was like, she believes like this affair is going to work out, but she's never seen a movie before.
So yeah. But what I also liked is it's a moment for them to be away from the child.
True.
It's probably the only time up until that point that they were not with the kid. So they have something else to talk about besides him, which was very nice in a relationship. And then I loved the whole, like, put your hand on my stick. Because that could have gone a different way. Yeah. Where she's like, oh my God, you're making a center. And he's like, it's not, it's just put it on a stick. It's not being, and then she does, and he's like, ooh, baby. Yeah. But they both are like laughing about it. Yeah. Like, that's a real moment.
It's like
really
very,
cute.
It's like almost like flirting minus 0.5. It's like right at the edge of flirting.
But like fun, like friendship.
He doesn't want a woman with a kid. He's dating all these different women, and she wants a serious man. Right. So it's like they're like both teetering the line of like
they've
like
almost
friends.
Already removed the romantic option out.
Yeah,
which is they can actually relax and get to know each other. Yeah. Which is really nice.
Just very smart writing. So the dream sequence you mentioned, and I want to spend a little bit of time on this. I actually rewound it and watched it because I thought it was so funny. It's funny because it's really kind of edgy. He kisses her and then shoves her face. Did you catch that?
Yeah.
And I said, wait, did he just say what I think he said? And I rewound it, and he wrote to his little children. He has all these little kids. So it's a dream sequence where he
She's
she has a
imagining his
cigarette. Yeah, this
future- their
awful
future
life.
together, yeah.
They're living in her apartment still with like 4 kids. She's pregnant again, barefoot in the kitchen, cigarette hanging out of her mouth. He walks in all chubby and and just kind of messy, and the kids are like, "Daddy," and he's like, "Hold your horses," he goes, "Hold your horses, I'll knock you to kingdom come." Oh my God. And then he goes, "Good news, guys. You know that dumpster behind the supermarket?" And it's dinner, and it's like he has a cabbage.
Right.
Oh my God. And they're all happy, like, yay, food.
What did he say that was really funny? It was like wrapped up, and he's like, it could be steak or it could be a carrot, or
oh, yeah,
we just don't know. I forget what he said, but it was really funny.
When he ever said, you know that dumpster, he's God.
So funny.
Very funny. And that happens when they're like making out in bed, right? And then she's like, I can't do this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because she has a weird expression on her face, and I'm like, what is happening? Like, is he... Because you see her, and he's kind of like behind her, and I'm like, did this take like a weird sexual turn? But she was just daydreaming about what her future will be like if she ends up with him.
Yep.
So.
And then another dream sequence with Albert. We haven't talked too much about Albert, but he's like, and he does that line again. If I don't touch you, I'm gonna if
I don't kiss you right now, Molly, my head's gonna burst.
Yeah,
I might just burst.
I'm gonna burst if I don't touch you. And she goes, tough, and his head explodes.
His head explodes. Yeah, right, because she's waiting to see him.
Right.
And she falls asleep.
Yeah, and she thinks,
Yes.
And
then, so that was good. He was really good in it. He was so smarmy.
Good performance. He's an awful,
Like, you can tell, like, you can see why she stays with him, because he has an excuse for everything, and he's, just has an excuse for everything.
Well, he makes her feel like a goddess. And
he
pours it all on. But in this scene, Albert is a pathetic pussy. Mm-hmm. Sorry for my language. I'm so confused, Molly. And then he's like, oh, well, we were in therapy. And then he's like, can I please see a picture of like the child?
Of Mickey?
His whole tone. Mickey, yeah. And she's like, Mikey!
It's Mikey!
Yeah. Very good.
But then he turns around. He's like, I'm so nervous. I've been thinking about you. And it's like, so I can get like,
I know.
Why she's like, well, he was nervous. And so, but it was nice when they did finally meet. Well, actually, they have that fight first, right? She and James have this fight.
Right.
Because he shows up at the apartment and he fights him.
Yes.
And then he's mad. And I loved that fight. I thought it was a good fight.
It made sense.
Yeah.
Because like she'd been lying to James.
Well, and it was nice that he manned up too. Like, it was nice to see him as a man and not just like a little boy child. Like, it really felt like, okay, he can do this parenting thing. Because he does have something in there. But yeah, so that was interesting. I really liked, I actually just said, it's nice to see James get upset for a change.
Yeah.
Because everything else is just so go with the flow. It's like, do you have
and how much he cares about the kid.
Right,
too.
and how much he cares about the kid, because it wasn't really even about her so much.
He had no clue who this guy was, and this guy just shows up. So I think it was all very justified. Let's see. If your friends... good, sorry.
Sorry, I just have this funny line, too. When she goes back to see him with Mikey, and she gets mad, which is great. Because she thinks that he's going to be like this father figure to this kid now. Yeah. Because he's, turned a corner. And now he's like, I'm going through a selfish phase right now. And she's like, what are you talking about? And then she's like, I'm going through a destructive phase right now, which is really good. But then when he says, I've raised my kids.
Oh, good.
And she's like, they're 11 and 9.
I wrote that dialogue down. That... Oh my God! What? He's such an ass.
But it was so good. Like, just good. Just get rid of him. He's a dick. He's not going to be anywhere near Mikey, and it was better off that way.
I do have a note. It's kind of funny. I'm sure. I feel like this is a throwback to Saturday Night Fever. When he's like, if your friends jumped off the Brooklyn Bridge, would you? Yeah. Although I think that bridge that's not the Brooklyn Bridge in that movie. It's isn't it the Verrazano Narrows? I think we talked about that. But in Saturday Night Fever, when the friend does jump off the bridge. Yeah.
Well, and they played a song from Saturday Night Fever too. Staying Alive or something like that.
Oh my God.
Did you
I
get
didn't
that?
even catch that.
When they were going down the street, when Mikey was going down the street in the carriage.
Oh my God, of course.
It was,
I didn't even connect.
I think it was Staying Alive.
I didn't even connect it. I connected the dialogue more than the song. That's so funny.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, look at that. It's that here.
Mikey, though, for all of his adorableness, some of his thoughts do not age well when he says she's putting him in the outfit with the lambs. And he says, I'm not going to say the word, but he says, I look like a blank. Begins with an R. That's all I'll say. And it's like...
They really threw that word around in movies back then.
I know. But it's also, it's like, this is weird. It's like, you don't know what a light bulb is, but you know what that word means.
Right. I was waiting for this conversation.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
No, as I was watching, and I'm like, Brian's going to have a problem with the fact that, like, this kid has a better vocabulary, and he doesn't know this, and how does he know that? So I was waiting for a little bit of that. But.
Yeah. But it's fine. Oh my God. Okay, so, and I guess it had to happen because it's an 80s movie, but Mikey roams around the nursing home. Mm-hmm. He's riding elevators.
Well, again, I question Kirstie Alley's, like, you're just leaving your kid with anybody?
Yeah.
Like,
Can you please watch my kid? She's now let this baby with a CPA she doesn't know, a taxi driver she barely knows, and a senior citizen who's battling dementia.
Right.
In a nursing home.
Yeah, and it's like, well, you've already had a couple of close calls. Like, maybe
be a little more attentive.
Yeah, maybe be a little.
Oh, and to your earlier point,
the guy just leaves. That wasn't. I mean,
up.
He knows the mental state of this guy. He just got violent.
That's also, speaking of violent, Molly already beat up James because he took the kid without even letting her know. Right. So she should be a little hyper conscious of, like, when I leave my kid unseen, this could happen. She's not learning her lessons.
Yeah, so that was a little bit odd. I didn't like that.
She's a little flawed, Molly.
Yeah, a little bit, but that makes her even more lovable.
Yep. How old is Mikey during the final part of this film?
She says 1 year old.
So he is riding in fruit carts, visiting cafeteria, jumping in a car and a tow truck.
He's definitely older in real life. I would say he was probably 2.5.
Okay.
In my, humble opinion. But in the movie, she mentions that he is 1. And it makes sense, too, because if he was older than that, then he would be able to talk better.
Yes.
So I get why they said it the way that they did.
Yeah.
And even if he was older, what was kind of funny is, like, people count kids' ages by months, usually.
Right.
So for her to say he's 1... it would probably,
He's 13 months.
Yeah, it would be more like, 18 months or whatever.
Yeah. So it's a little, my concern though is that, like, it is physically very difficult for a little child to, I would say, open a car door, perhaps.
Yes. In fact, they don't start walking until 1. Most kids start walking at 1.
And he is flying.
Yeah, he's walking quite.
Like, how did he open, how did he even open there's that nursing home door, which has one of those push level down. How the hell could he push that door open?
He might have just snuck out with somebody.
Okay.
Nobody was really paying attention. Though I love that the ladies are like, oh, that's Greta's grandchild. What I didn't like
Let's hear it, please.
He leaves the toy behind. He's like, oh, there, I'll just get in the car. And he hops in the car, and the tow truck is driving it away. And Molly and James... Look, you can't see
not at all
anything in that car. She sees the toy and looks up and says, he's in the back of that car. Like, all right. No, he's not. I wish they had seen at least his arm out of the car or something.
I didn't think the door was even completely closed, and I think they saw his jacket.
Oh, is that what maybe it was?
Because that's what I was like, oh, I guess in fairness, the door isn't closed. My issue is when they cut to inside the car, the door is completely closed.
Yeah.
So I'm like...
when it was open to begin with.
So that's my point.
Yeah, he didn't...
How did he pull the door closed? Yeah. And then how can he reopen the door? Climbs out of... I mean, he doesn't fall. I mean, like, so it's just a little... Because so much, literally rides on the scene... And it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, they would just sort of like, let's just do it.
And then he has some really dumb dialogue, which it's just unfortunate because I do think, like, the movie, one of my least favorite sequences is this whole ending. Because it's like, he says, "Dada." That's his first word. And Molly says, "Oh, he must think you're his father. I'm like, I wonder why.
Right.
He's with him every day of his life. Of course he does. And then James says, well, we have been spending a lot of time together. And it's like, guys, how stupid are you? Of course this makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
He's
it makes
with him
100%.
every single
What doesn't
day.
make sense
Let's hear it.
is, what does he know about Dada? Like, who has taught him what Dada is? Right? I know he had like this mental conversation with the little baby.
That's what I was going to say, yeah.
But, I mean, in reality, like, a kid doesn't know what a Dada is until you tell them.
Right.
Who. Like,
Well, she
they're not
does
gonna-
say,
it's
well,
like almost walking
God,
up to you and being like,
I can't believe
Ryan.
I'm defending this right now.
Oh, boy.
Because she does say, I'm going to find you a daddy. She does say daddy, daddy, daddy a
Yeah,
lot.
I suppose.
And because he is a little smart, Christina, isn't he? In his thoughts.
Yeah.
So he knows that he's looking for a daddy. She's looking for a daddy.
That's a running theme in his brain.
And he is trying to say daddy, and it comes out dada.
Right. Well, if he said daddy, that would be a pretty crazy first word.
Oh my God, what did you just remind me of when you said daddy?
Daddy.
Daddy. Anyway, hi, Julie. Should they have? So now this is this is in the credits. They've now had a second.
Yes,
so
yes.
that's my final note. Sorry.
Let me see if I have anything. In the back of the car, I did say him walking around in traffic was pretty terrifying.
Oh my God.
Oh
yeah.
my gosh, I did not like that at all. Yeah, and then they find him. This made me laugh too. This is another baby dialogue. When he comes running over, he lifts him up. And he has, the baby, of course, has no idea that all this chaos is happening. They all the cars crash around him. And he just goes, hey, James, did you just see what happened? That made me laugh.
I know.
But that's my last note until Julie.
Yeah, then it's like, don't start with me, kid. It's Joan Rivers. And it was so nice to hear her voice.
It was perfect.
Yeah.
And
so
I
funny.
loved that she was the last. Can we talk? I mean,
Yeah,
come
can
on.
we talk?
That was perfect.
Really perfect. So the big question, I obviously have some trivia and a match game, but the big question is more, less, or about the same on rewatch?
I don't know. I really feel like it's about the same.
Okay.
Because I really felt like it held up. I felt like the acting was strong. I still laughed and giggled at some of the things that Mikey said. And yeah, I just thought it was a fun little rom-com.
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely enjoyed it. And I really appreciated Kirstie Alley's performance a lot. The expressions and things like that. Even when she's standing on the scale.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I think maybe even slightly more.
Yep.
So definitely the same, but maybe slightly more.
For me, it's definitely more, because I wasn't even all that crazy about it before.
Right, yep.
But the chemistry is so sweet between the two of them, Kirstie Alley and John Travolta. They're such lived-in characters. The writing, I think, for the character development is strong. I actually, as much as the kid's voice I don't think it was necessary. I also don't think it was overused either. If it was nonstop,
Yes.
oh my
thank
God.
goodness.
It
Yes,
never
it was a
approached, it
good
never even
amount.
approached it. And I was never annoyed by it. I just felt, and there's a difference between being annoyed by it and thinking it's just not needed.
Right.
So that's my feeling there. Olympia Dukakis, I think, I wrote, again, the actors are all way better than they need to be, and I think this is perfect TV, a little perfect TV viewing thing.
Something that's nice to have on the background. I'm surprised you never put this on in the background of your, video days.
I know, I guess I really didn't. Trivia, the budget, $7.5 million.
Not bad.
The box office, $297 million.
That doesn't surprise
And if
me.
Letterboxd is to be believed, prorated with current theater prices right now, movie ticket prices, this movie would have made over $700 million.
Oh my gosh.
That's how popular this was. That's how many people saw
popular.
the movie.
I remember it
Yeah.
being a huge hit.
Yeah,
I
crazy.
remember that very,
crazy. Almost
very
$300
clearly.
million, this movie. So allegedly based on an affair. Allegedly based on an affair between Harold Ramis and Amy Heckerling.
Interesting.
Harold Ramis. Yeah. Of course, we talked about Look Who's Talking 2, which was released kind of right after. This is 89.
They really
1990.
And it was Roseanne Barr who had the voice.
Joan Rivers was not available, although
which was a bummer. I think she would have been great.
I think so. Although I didn't see the movie, but Joan Rivers, I think at that point was having a tough time with the Johnny Carson stuff and all that. And then Look Who's Talking Now was 1993, which had voices of Diane Keaton and Danny DeVito as the dogs. By the way, Look Who's Talking Now was a huge bomb.
Sure. Why wouldn't it be?
Yeah. And then,
was Kirstie Alley and John Travolta in that one?
Yeah, they were
both in that
and
one,
Olympia Dukakis, too. Yeah.
Interesting.
This was...
Did Amy do that one?
No.
No.
No. Then this is John Travolta's first major acting role in 4 years.
Interesting.
Other casting ideas for Mikey's voice: Chevy Chase,
Okay.
Bill Murray,
Okay.
and John Candy.
All of them would have been great.
All were interested. All were busy. They couldn't make it work.
And it was funny that they would choose Bruce Willis because he wasn't really into comedies at that point.
No,
right?
it was Moonlighting. And Moonlighting is a pretty comical character. He's like rascally.
Yeah.
Which is kind of weird. I have to be honest. So many of them said they weren't busy in my research. But it's like, you couldn't have recorded all that dialogue in a day. I don't know.
Like I said, I think a lot of it, you're
Came in
watching the
after,
movie
yeah.
and kind of narrating what's happening.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't think there was a ton.
It just
they
seemed
needed to
weird,
get
but
done.
what do I know? All right, so I have a match game.
I also have a match game. Would you
Do
like
you
to
want
go
to
first?
You should go first. I feel like I've talked a lot.
That's okay. I did a lot too.
By the way, I
Match
had to rent this from the
game.
library. It's not on
Yes.
any streaming services.
I
at the
did
moment.
too. I know. Thank goodness they had it. Okay. Look who's talking.
Yeah.
You know, Brian, they've taken it just way too far this time.
Oh, God.
They made another sequel,
Oh, no.
but this time it's X-rated. And we can hear the thoughts of James and Molly's blanks.
Ding.
Dang.
I think this would be the only answer.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's the only answer probably too. All right, so they've taken it too far. They made another sequel, an X-rated version, and we can hear the thoughts of James and Molly's
Private parts.
genitals.
Yay. So I was laughing before you finished the question because here's mine. Well, Christina,
Oh boy.
they've taken it too far this time.
Oh no!
There's another sequel in the works.
No
I swear to
way!
God. And this time, it's Mikey's diapers that are sharing their thoughts.
Ew.
In the new movie, Look Who's Talking Blank. I have 4 answers, by the way.
I'm gonna do one that would really be on.
Yeah.
There's one that really I think would be better.
Yeah.
Ding.
Ding. Oh,
Oh
God.
my gosh.
I have
All
4 different
right.
answers. I just circled one. All right. This time it's about Mikey's
That's so funny. that we have
Diapers.
Basically the same question.
I know,
It's so funny.
sharing their thoughts. And the new movie, Look Who's Talking.
Crap.
Oh my God. So I had talking shit, which wouldn't have worked.
Shit was my first
Yeah.
thought. Yeah.
Talking dirty, because like dirty diapers.
Oh, good one.
Talking crap. But then my answer was, Look Who's Talking number 2.
Ah! That's too smart. That's too smart.
Well, I cannot believe we
Oh
talked
my
so much about
gosh.
Look Who's Talking. I thought this was
I
going to be like a
know.
20-minute episode.
Me too.
Like
I'm
a
like, this
fluff.
is quick.
This
I
is
have
going to be
no,
fluff.
barely
fluffy,
any notes.
Yeah, fluffy.
Oh
but
my gosh. But
what a
yeah.
pleasant surprise.
I'm
Pleasant
so glad
surprise.
you were surprised,
Yeah.
and I'm so glad that it held up. I was really glad that it makes me so happy when a movie from the 80s, like a little
comedy. We
comedy.
struggle. The comedies are always so disappointing.
Oh my God,
this one's not.
There's usually a lot more. I mean, this had like that one word. But there's usually a lot more than that in
That's
these
true.
comedies. But yes, I was just
Oh,
very
you know what?
happy.
Really quick though, they do a bit of that. Are you a lesbian? Are you a lesbian? Are you a lesbian?
Oh, the
But
lesbian joke.
Even that, I mean,
But,
I
I
don't know.
mean,
I think
I
that's
don't even know if
that
it was-
sounds like authentically what women go through when they,
Right.
embark
There
on that.
was-
It's like, oh, why do you have a
Yes.
man? Why do you have a man? Why do you have a man? Are you
I
a
didn't
lesbian?
feel like it was a.
It wasn't
was a
making
hit.
fun. It wasn't
Yeah,
making
it
fun
wasn't
of
a hit on
lesbians.
lesbians. It was more
yeah.
like, well,
That's
well,
the only logical thing. You can't get a man. Like, right? It's like that.
what did Olympia say? She said something like, because Molly says she's artificially inseminated.
Yeah.
So she says, artificially inseminated. That's only for ugly girls and lesbians. I think
right,
that's
right,
what it
right.
was.
Yeah.
But I didn't feel like it was a knock. I think it was really what lesbians need to do to have a baby.
Well, and I also think that a single woman who chooses to have a baby alone, I think that's the shit she puts up against too.
Right,
Those are the assumptions
right.
that do get made. So
Even now,
yeah.
probably.
Yeah.
So
Well,
anyway, but that
enjoy,
was
yeah, Look Who's
Who's
Talking.
Talking, rented at your local library.
And that's it for us and for this episode of Old Roommates.
Thank you for listening. Please remember to follow us on Instagram or YouTube, where we have our episodes as well as a little extra.
And if you have any questions about our show, any suggestions for movies we could revisit, reach out to us at oldroommatespod@gmail.com.
Thanks again for listening.
This is Brian.
And this is Christina. Until next time.